your neighbors must love you.
Yeah, not so much. Good morning, Wackadoo Racing Channel. So we're kind of in the same place that we were last week, where we get this whole door debacle thing to figure out. Probably going to make this a real short video and just tack it on to whatever we do next week, because this is going to be pretty boring and tedious. The goal is still to get the doors on, hopefully get them primered today. That'd be pretty cool. If we can get them all hung and primered, that'd be awesome, because then I can get this thing back outside. So we're just going to get to it. So we revisited the passenger side rear and have massaged some of the gaps a little bit, and I feel pretty good about it. So this one closes pretty nicely and the gaps are all manageable, enough so that with a little bit of massaging later, I feel like I'm happy with this where it's at. I got one body line that's a little bit off, but the only place where it's going to indicate that it's off on the cab itself is covered with a badge. So I'm not too worried about that because everything else adds up. So there's also a strike mark here that indicates that this thing's been hit with something in that place. Could have been anything that was loaded on the back of the truck at any point. So I'm not too worried about that. I'll deal with that a little bit later when it comes time to do body work. On the other side, the gaps look really manageable. We did require one shim, but it put it right into place, and it looks just as good as this side. It actually closes even better than this side. So feeling pretty good. We're gonna switch to the front doors and we're gonna try that again. I think we're gonna save the driver for last because it was a mess the first go around. So we're gonna start with the passenger just to give us a little bit of a chance to step away from that and try another one and see if it was just an isolated concern. But Cody is running in the bolts to make sure that we don't cross thread anything, because they're old bolts and we're kind of pulling them from a bucket that's been, since I took the doors off several months ago, so who knows which is which. So, how you looking, Cody?
5 out of 6. So we're working on it.
Practically there.
We're almost there. Almost there. Gotta find one more. We'll be decent.
And we'll hang the door and
we'll try.
Hopefully it goes on first try, and
yeah.
Then we can go do fun stuff like put the Opal in here.
Yeah.
Turbo.
Shit, I gotta buy a turbo.
Fabrication and a turbo.
And a turbo.
Starts with doors.
Starts with doors.
And look at Moose. Look at this guy. Look how old he is.
He's a good moose.
He's 12 years old. He's so handsome. He's such a good boy. Sit down, Moose. Sit.
He's a good boy.
He's our mascot. Look how handsome he is.
He's handsome.
We'll get back to you when we get these doors on. So after a pretty extended amount of time lapse, the camera eventually went dead, and I decided it probably wasn't going to be worth it to continue doing what was going to inevitably turn into just a really long time lapse video. We ended up fighting the doors until about midnight and got 3 of the 4 mounted to the point where I feel pretty comfortable with it. There's still a little bit of alignment that can be done later once we start doing the body work to really get everything where we want it to be, but the 3 doors that we have on line up really well. So tonight's Thursday night. On Saturday night we got the 3 hung, and then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday I started stripping these doors, which ended up being way more difficult than I anticipated. So we ended up using an aircraft paint remover, and it still took several hours to get all of this crazy thick paint off these 1987 Suburban doors. So let me show you what we got here, and I'll show you a couple of the steps. So here on the passenger side we actually have both doors completely stripped with brand new primer on them, and they open and close really nicely with a very minimal amount of deflection where they're not hopping up or falling down off of the hinges themselves or off the latches. So a lot of times with these older square bodies, they'll come down and you'll feel jar off of the latch, but they're lining up pretty well on the strikers. So that feels really good. 2 doors painted and done. Now for this side, last night got the driver front door stripped down. You can see it's in raw metal.
Hey, Moose.
So looking at the rear door, you can see all the surface rust. We used water to neutralize the acid once it was all stripped, but you can see the same thing. You actually don't have any fall, and the door lines up really nicely and closes beautifully. So I'm gonna go ahead and start sanding this one down, and we're gonna go ahead and try and get this one primered tonight. I just gotta get these things stripped down and primered. All right, door stripped. Let's get it primed. Obviously, I was able to get the door primered. Now with the angle of the light and the primer, this dent, scratch, crease looks much worse than it actually is. It's mostly the lighting. However, I knew about this dent through both the doors before I bought them, and I figured it was going to be much easier to deal with this dent slash scratch than it was going to be to replace all of the tin on the other doors. The other doors had actually rotted to about the same place, to the point where I was going to have to reskin the entire exterior of the door and interior of the door. At that point, you're basically replacing the entire door, so there was no point in dealing with it. So this will be much easier to deal with than what I had previously, and these fit much better actually. So that's one door down. I'm going to skip the part where I do all the same thing to this one, and hopefully skip to the part where Cody and I have it on the truck so we can get moving on something else.
Well, guys, it's Saturday. It's Saturday afternoon to be exact. I haven't been here all day, but I'm here now. So checking in, seeing what we got going on. Clearly, still got to hang a door, but this one has been the one giving us the most trouble. So I went ahead and started mounting seats. I think Dee and Creasel went back to get front seat and brackets so we can get that mounted in. And then we're going to hang a door, however long that takes. And then once this thing's hung, we already got the motor started, so we'll get it started, we'll get it backed out, get it back in its rightful home so we can start working on other stuff. We got the Triumph, we got a couple of things we got to button up on that. And then it should be Opal time. So guys, got a little bitty update. Little bitty. It's alright. Be little bitty. Door's on. So it turns out the hinges where the actual mount to the body were like this, and they need to be like this. So got that figured out, got the door mounted, and it's pretty tight, pretty decent, good body all the way around. Looks good, good gaps. All the way, don't look there, and then all the way down, yeah. So it looks pretty good. Opens, closes. I mean,
He said, don't look there. It is what it is.
yeah, there's one little spot right there on the body line where it's kind of pookied a little bit.
A little tight.
A little tight. We gotta work that, but
massage
I mean, realistically, body lines look pretty damn good. Door opens, it closes, and we're starting to mock up seats.
Body lines are pretty good, but if you're a square body guy, you know how rare this is right here. Ready?
Yeah, I mean,
that is rare.
that's the thing. Moving forward, got some seats in here, so we're debating on how we want to deal with it because we're trying to go for full 3x3 front and rear, but we've got audio, we've got some other things, seat placements. He's got slightly oversized steering wheel.
Yeah, we've got an 18-inch big truck steering wheel, and I have to worry about where that's going to be on me without a tilt column, where my feet are going to be, my leg length, whether or not I want someone else to be able to drive the truck, whether or not we need adjustable seat rails, where the passenger's feet are going to be in proximity from the rear seat to the front seat, the height of the rear seat in proximity to whether or not we're going to have a sub box behind it or below it. So there's a lot of variables there. For now, just getting them in the truck and a couple of bolts in them solidly so that we can drive it around, move it around, and do something else for the time being. So there's room for change later, but I think just mounting the front seats for now is what's got to happen next.
I like it.
Let's do it.
We got seats mounted in the front, and what are you thinking, Hoss?
I'm feeling pretty good about it. I can reach everything. I'm sitting nice and low. I'm compared to my usual driving stature, which for our track work cars, I like to be very high up above the glass and in the steering wheel with my feet kind of close. This is a much more relaxed position for me. I'm a little uncomfortable, but I feel after the first time I'm sitting in traffic and I got my gangster lean on and I got my music blaring, I'm going to feel pretty good about where I'm at now compared to in my other high energy vehicles. So I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Well, it's not necessarily in its final position
we can
by any
definitely
means.
move.
We can move it, but for now it's bolted down, so
it's solid. We can move it. I
when
can
we go to
operate the
move it,
clutch
you're not
without falling into the back seat again.
exactly. You're not going to get thrown into the back. And then let's give them a little treat. Let's show them the piece de resistance.
This right here is it's actually a pretty rare piece. This is actually kind of where we profiled a lot of the build from and a lot of the build energy, if you will. This is an 18-inch big rig style steering wheel. This one is made by a manufacturer, I think in Amarillo. They're the only ones that make this. It's a stainless steel cattle skull and red oak combo. And I loved it and had to have it. And I think it's going to fit this build really nicely when it's all done with the red accents we're doing in the cab. And it's going to be beautiful. We don't show it off very often because I'm trying not to scratch it up or mess it up before it goes in the truck.
But we had to bring it out just to see seat position and everything.
I had to know where it was going to be, and right now, with how low I'm sitting, I've actually got an enormous amount of room all around this steering wheel. So I feel pretty good about it.
Good.
Can't see a whole lot because that hood scoop and everything and the enormous front end of this truck. But what do you need to see? The road's behind you.
Exactly. Road's behind you. You got mirrors. You'll be fine. Any final words, Captain?
Don't eat yellow snow.
Don't eat yellow snow. Yeah. That's about where we're at. So
I think we're gonna move this thing and put it up in the backyard.
All right. Well, Wackadoo out. Yeah, Wackadoo out. Right back.